What's going on YouTube, Ferocity? I hope you guys are doing well. Yesterday I made a video about Call of Duty potentially coming to the Game Pass and what that would mean for Game Pass's future as well as Call of Duty's future. Now, of course, I urge you to watch that. I'll link it down below in the description. But one of the things I mentioned in that video was that Call of Duty is kind of falling behind most of its competition when it comes to barriers to entry. Because Call of Duty is still one of the few games that expect you to spend a full $80 to just access their multiplayer. Considering the fact their main competition, XDefiant, CSGO 2, are all free-to-play games. And games that expect you to pay, like Rainbow Six Siege, are far cheaper than Call of Duty, so you can access the game without having to fork over all of this money. Now, granted, we willingly do so every single November, and they have us hook, line, and sinker because we're loyal to this franchise. But the question needs to be asked. Is it time to go towards a free-to-play model? They already do it with Warzone, and Warzone is a massive success. So what would a free-to-play model look like for Call of Duty? Would it be a net positive for the game, or would it be a net negative? Would it allow more people to access the game? 100%. But with that access, would there be more cheaters? Would there be less stability? Would there be more issues? Because we already see in a pay-to-play model that they currently have, that they have a tough time with matchmaking, they have a tough time with the servers, and they have a tough time with cheaters. Now, granted, there are a lot of cheaters in Warzone as well, so maybe that's part of it with the free-to-play side. But if they made multiplayer free-to-play, they'd have to monitor it closer, because it would open itself up to more people playing the game, more people being able to have access. And that's what I'm really here for, especially with the way Call of Duty monetizes itself. They could 100% have sustainable revenues with making it free to play. But then what happens with modes like zombies, with campaign? How do you monetize that? What do you do to recoup your costs there? Because there is a portion of the player base that loves to play campaign, that loves to play zombies. What do you do with those people? Because you can't make the entire game free to play, and you can't make a 4-hour campaign a full $70. So this is the conundrum that Call of Duty is in. Because it would be great, and I'm sure they would have already made multiplayer free to play if they didn't have to also have a campaign and zombies. Now, granted, some would argue, I think it was Black Ops 3 or 4, I can't remember, but one of those didn't have a campaign. So because of that, it should have been free to play, and I'm 100% here for that. Like, no campaign, make it free to play. I think we can all come to that agreement. But Call of Duty's better if it has a campaign, especially if it's a campaign done well. So what does this mean? Well, maybe it's time to expand the campaign, make the campaign bigger, make it more memorable, make it amazing, make it truly special, make it worth $40 or $50. Because right now, it's nowhere near that price tag. But they could get it there. And if they were enticed to do so by having multiplayer being free to play, by having zombies being free to play, it could create a really cool experience with the campaign. And that way you could have some separation from the campaign and have its true identity within the campaign as well as the immersion, and then have multiplayer and zombies and Warzone be as crazy and egregious as you want. And that could result in a very positive future for Call of Duty. Because you'll have this recurring revenue from multiplayer, from people supporting the game, buying the battle passes, buying the microtransactions, playing your game because it's easier to access, and because more people can access it, more people will spend money. And then on top of it, you also have this additional revenue of a campaign that you've put a lot of resources and time and effort into that creates that classic Call of Duty feel and immersion, and it sells a really good story. And that's where we could really hone in on having a cohesive experience across all the different modes and all the different games, but having them work individually as well. And I think it's an opportunity that maybe Call of Duty has to explore. Because for me, I think one of the best ways to get more revenue, to have more people play your game, is tear down those barriers to entry. Make it more accessible. I mean, CSGO 2 did it, and it's one of the biggest games on Steam. There's a reason why. If you have a good game, people are going to play it, especially if it's accessible. And that's what we see with Call of Duty. Anytime they do a free-to-play weekend, people come to play the game. They get this huge influx of players. Imagine if that was just all the time. And then the other argument is, well, then what do you do with Game Pass? Because Game Pass needs that big seller. I don't know. I don't get paid millions of dollars to tear apart the entire industry. So I don't actually know. But I could see Call of Duty's campaign being one of the selling features of Game Pass, being one of those things you could include on Game Pass. And hey, guess what? If you only have access to the campaign through Game Pass, that's probably only 50 to 60 gigs. So now your entire hard drive isn't being held hostage by Call of Duty through the Game Pass. So you can have a little bit more access to other things. And the algorithm that Game Pass has could also recommend you some things that are very similar to the Call of Duty campaign. And then you can play more and more of the Game Pass, touching on different areas of different games. And it could just result in a net positive for everyone. But I do fear that Call of Duty is too greedy and Microsoft wants to see a return on investment a little too much, that they might just never go down the road of having Call of Duty be free to play for its multiplayer and its zombies. They might just keep it as Warzone to compete with Apex and Fortnite and never move off of it. And this is why I think the launch of XDefiant is really going to define the future of FPS shooters. Because if XDefiant comes out and once again proves that the free-to-play model works, Call of Duty might just have to follow suit. Their hand might be forced because their competitors like CSGO 2 and now XDefiant potentially are taking the reins. They have to respond in some way, shape, or form. And following suit with a free-to-play game might be the best way to continue to maintain their large market share. But only time's going to tell with that. And honestly, fingers crossed for XDefiant. I know we're over a week away with that, but please just be good. Please just be good. Because I think it can have a large ripple effect throughout this entire industry. Definitely the first-person shooter genre. But I'll focus more on that on a video tomorrow as we lead into XDefiant. So I'm going to leave you guys with this question to comment down below in the comments section. Do you think Call of Duty would be more successful if it just went the free-to-play route for multiplayer, allowed campaign to be a little bit more of an immersive experience, and have that be its paid content, maybe the content that's available on Game Pass? Because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I've let you know mine. It's time for you to have your say down below in that comment section. And as always, guys, I appreciate all of you. I thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit the subscribe button. We're just gearing up for XDefiant. So, videos are going to be coming. We're going to be making some great content. And I really hope you guys can enjoy it. So, as always, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.